This young man had been missing for 8 years but suddenly returned, surprising his entire family. Everyone had assumed he was lost at sea or had died somewhere. Suddenly, soon after his return, his mother died of unknown causes. Jiang Jin Man requested an autopsy to determine the cause of death, but his older brother vehemently refused, wanting their mother to rest in peace. A little later, Jin Man's sister-in-law asked him to take their daughter, Jiang Jian, home, as the girl kept dropping and breaking things at the funeral home. As uncle and niece left, a man arrived to pay his respects, introducing himself as an old friend of Jin Man's. Jiang Jin Man was taking his niece home when he received a disturbing phone call. He told Jian, "I'm going back to the funeral home to see your parents. A friend of mine will come here, and when he does, you need to ask him a riddle. Only open the door if he can solve it." Jiang Jian promised, "I can do it." She came up with a riddle. What animal loses its tail and becomes a horse? The answer is a cat. Removing the O leaves ma, meaning horse. After that, her uncle left, promising to return. As Jin Man left, a young man arrived and tried to unlock the door. Jian peeked through the crack and asked the riddle, but the man said nothing, just unlocked the door and entered. He was immediately pulled back outside by someone else. Jiang Jian heard fighting outside. Then, a young man entered, providing the answer cat on his phone, and introduced himself as a friend of Uncle Dong Jin. Noticing someone approaching, he told Jian to wait in a room. The girl went into the room and saw that the young man wore an iron bracelet. A long-haired man with a gun entered the house. Jian heard shouting outside and peeked through the crack, seeing the young man being overpowered. The two strangers entered the room, searching for Jian. The man in a suit noticed the open window, leaned out, and saw Jian dangling. He praised her bravery, comparing her to her uncle, and offered to pull her up. However, Jian let go, landing on a sofa placed below. She quickly ran away but was hit by a car. People rushed to the scene. The long-haired man looked up at his boss in the suit with a helpless expression. Jian was rushed to the hospital. She hazily opened her eyes and heard that her parents had been killed at the funeral home, and her uncle was still unreachable. That night, Jian woke up and realized someone was entering. The long-haired man opened the door, attaching a silencer to his gun. But when he pulled back the blanket, he only found pillows. Jian had escaped. She ran down the stairs, fiercely pursued by the long-haired man. Jian tried opening all the doors, but only the morgue was unlocked, so she went inside. Inside, the long-haired man informed his accomplice that he had found the girl. Jiang Jian opened one of the compartments within the room. The long-haired man entered to search. Jian realized the body lying next to her was her own mother. The long-haired man began opening each compartment to search for Jian. The girl clung tightly to her mother to overcome her fear. An accomplice entered, but from behind, someone else shot at the long-haired man. Jian trembled, hearing the gunshots from outside. A moment later, her uncle, Jiang Jin Man, opened the compartment and saw his niece sleeping next to his sister-in-law. He lifted the girl onto his shoulder and covered his sister-in-law's body. Then, he carried the child, now orphaned, back home. A month later, Jiang Jin Man drove his niece to a remote house in the countryside. Upon entering, Jian stumbled and fell, but her uncle didn't help her up, saying, "I'm not your parent, so I can't do the things your parents did for you." He then entered the house alone, leaving Jian to carry her luggage inside by herself. That evening, as Jian slept, her uncle looked at her and recalled the doctor's words. They had concluded that Jian was showing signs of aphasia combined with dissociative amnesia due to the shock of losing both parents. She needed medication for treatment. Jin Man went outside and repeatedly slapped himself, consumed by guilt. His reappearance had indirectly led to the death of Jian's parents. Due to her speech disorder, Jian was constantly teased and bullied at school. A large classmate was about to bully her when another boy, Jiang Min, intervened. The bully said, her mom was stabbed to death by her dad because she was having an affair. After he killed her, he killed himself. Jian picked up a chair and slammed it onto the bully's head. When school ended, it was pouring rain. While everyone else had parents to pick them up, Jian walked alone in the rain. After a while, Jiang Jin Man arrived in his pickup truck. but Jai-an sulked and refused to get in. Her uncle followed her for a short distance before coldly driving away, leaving her behind. The cold relationship between uncle and niece continued. Although he cooked the meals, Jin-man showed little care or concern for Jai-an. He left her to be independent in everything. They didn't even speak to each other directly, communicating instead through notes on the refrigerator door. If Jai-an needed something, she would write it down and stick it on the fridge. Her uncle would then stick money on the fridge in response, never giving it to her directly. Jeong Jin-man went to the school and was scolded by the teacher. Besides being unable to speak, Jai-an was facing difficulties interacting with her classmates. But her uncle coldly replied, "I understand what you're saying, but I think Jai-an needs to overcome her problems on her own." That day, 3 male classmates threw Jai-an into the school storage room. The large classmates spat on her before coldly closing and locking the door. Alone in the dark, Jai-an was haunted by the memory of the iron bracelet worn by the man who had rescued her at home. Terrified, she banged on the door repeatedly. Then, she managed to utter her uncle's name, crying for help. At that moment, her uncle broke down the door. Hearing his niece's reproach, "Why did you take so long? You said you'd come back." Jin-man embraced his suffering niece and said, "I'm sorry." Later, back at home, the uncle prepared grilled pork belly to celebrate his niece overcoming her speech disorder. The two of them finally sat down together and enjoyed the delicious meal. Jai-an could now compliment him. "The pork belly is delicious." They smiled at each other and ate heartily. Time passed. Jeong Jai-an grew into a young woman and graduated from university. One day, Jai-an was taken to the police station. A man repeatedly accused her of assaulting him. The police reviewed the CCTV footage and saw a woman enter the restroom, followed immediately by the man. Moments later, they both ran out, with Jai-an emerging last. She then cornered the man and beat him up for daring to enter the women's restroom. Jai-an repeatedly demanded to go home, as the man was clearly in the wrong. But the police said, "You assaulted him. He's suing you for battery. You need to call your guardian to settle this." With no other choice, Jai-an called her uncle, Jeong Jin-man. But a police officer answered the phone and delivered shocking news. Mr. Jeong Jin-man has passed away. Saddened, Jai-an took a taxi home, reminiscing about her uncle. She remembered when she moved away for university. Despite her being on the 5th floor, Jin-man had personally installed security bars for her. He had also bought her a metal wardrobe to hide in during emergencies. She remembered him looking at her student ID card, seemingly deep in thought, then taking a picture of it with his phone. He had told her to memorize her student ID number as if it were her social security number. Jai-an now realized that the last thing he had said to her was the sequence of numbers in her student ID. Suddenly, the taxi driver asked about Jeong Jin-man, introducing himself as Jin-man's close friend from middle school. Upon hearing Jai-an say, "He just passed away," the driver slammed on the brakes. He took Jai-an to the hospital to claim Jeong Jin-man's body and even gave her some money for the funeral expenses. Jai-an entered the morgue to identify Jeong Jin-man's body. His expression was the same as she remembered from her childhood. She was puzzled by a cut on his neck. The police officer said, "According to the CCTV footage around his house, no one went in or out, so we concluded that your uncle committed suicide." Jai-an whispered, "Even in death, he's confusing, just like when he was alive." She then signed the paperwork to claim the body. Jai-an noticed a tattoo on her uncle's hand that read, "Mirth help." She began making arrangements with the funeral home. When the employee asked for a portrait photo of the deceased, Jai-an was dumbfounded. Later, Jai-an went home. While she was looking for something, a young man suddenly walked in and introduced himself, "I'm B. Jeong-min." Jai-an recognized him as the boy who had stopped her from being beaten up by a bully at school when they were little. He then entered the house and took a picture of Jai-an's extended family photo. Jeong-min used software to extract a portrait of her uncle, Jin-man, for Jai-an. Jeong-min explained that he had graduated with a degree in computer science after completing his military service. He said, "When I got back home, I saw that your uncle was hiring for a part-time job. I helped him improve his website selling agricultural piping. I had only been working there for a few days when he passed away. I was the last person to contact him. I was also the one who called the police. I'm sure you know he was found in the bathroom, right? Let me help you clean up the place. You should focus on organizing a proper funeral for your uncle. Jai-an then took on the role of chief mourner for her uncle, Jeong Jin-man. The taxi driver uncle also enthusiastically helped Jai-an receive guests, as she didn't know any of her uncle's friends. During the funeral, a pair of twins with sullen faces came to pay their respects. A man with long hair stood outside. The taxi driver uncle tried to talk to the twins, but was only met with cold stares. While cleaning the bathroom, Jeong Min found a brick phone hidden in a cabinet. At the funeral, Jai-an heard stories about her uncle from his close friends for the first time. She also learned about the good deeds Jin-man had quietly done for those around him. Jai-an now realized that she had lived with her uncle for 10 years without knowing anything about him. At the end of the funeral, Jai-an and her friends escorted Jeong Jin-man to the crematorium. As they sat in the car, transporting his ashes to the cemetery, his friends kept whispering about how Jai-an hadn't shed a single tear during her uncle's funeral. Jeong Min spoke up, comforting Jai-an so she wouldn't be upset by the gossip. After returning home, Jai-an looked at the photo of her extended family and realized that everyone was gone, leaving her alone. She remembered the things her uncle Jin-man had said when they lived together. At that moment, Jai-an burst into tears and asked, "Were you that tired and desperate? You pretended to be so strong. Now I'm alone in this world, what am I supposed to do?" Suddenly, Jeong Min walked in and saw his school friend pouring out her long-suppressed emotions. Jai-an confessed, "I'm not okay at all. Can you stay with me a little longer?" Jai-an rested her head on Jeong Min's shoulder and fell asleep from exhaustion. Then, Jeong Min showed Jai-an the 2G phone he'd found in the bathroom. Jai-an turned it on and saw a text message from someone who had purchased an item from her uncle for 70 million won, and that Jeong Jin-man's account balance was a staggering 18.7 billion won. Jai-an immediately asked Jeong Min, "Can anyone make that kind of money selling farming equipment?" Jai-an asked Jeong Min to show her the website he had helped her uncle fix. Jeong Min accessed Jin-man's piping website. He analyzed the source code and found a hidden web page with the words "Mer the help." Jai-an recognized this as the phrase written on her uncle's hand. Jeong Min logged in and discovered that behind the security layer was a weapons trafficking website, with items worth millions of won each. At that moment, someone messaged asking when their order would arrive. Jai-an replied, "The store is currently closed, please leave your account number. We will issue a refund." The customer responded, "Is Jin-man dead? You're going to die today too." Jeong Min immediately unplugged the computer to prevent Jai-an from panicking and urged her to call the police. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Jai-an went to check and found a short-haired woman who introduced herself as Min-hai and asked for Jeong Jin-man. Jai-an told her that her uncle wasn't home and sent her away. But the woman explained, "I'm Jin-man's Chinese tutor, but I haven't been able to reach him." A gun was concealed in her bag. Suddenly, Jai-an received another message. "Don't let anyone kill you. I'll come find you and kill you myself, Jeong Jai-an." The short-haired woman continued to insist on coming inside and waiting for Jin-man. Jai-an said, "My uncle won't be home today, so you should leave." The woman pulled out her gun and said, "Your uncle always bragged to me about how smart and pretty you are." Jai-an shook her head and replied, "My uncle never bragged about me to anyone. Do you really know my uncle?" Feeling embarrassed, Min-hai walked away from the gate and drove off. Jeong Min ran out and called Jai-an to see what he had just discovered. Not everyone could buy from the website. Only those with codes could purchase specific items. There were 4 types of codes. Red codes were for professional assassins, allowing them to purchase weapons. Purple codes were for spies, allowing them to purchase listening devices and cameras. Gold codes were for cleaners, allowing them to purchase disposal and concealment solutions. And finally, there were blue codes. Those with different codes weren't allowed to attack each other. Blue codes would even sacrifice their lives to protect other blue codes. Blue codes included the website operator, her uncle Jeong Jin-man, and Jai-an herself. Jai-an found this unbelievable. Suddenly, they heard gunshots outside and ran out to see. They saw a drone equipped with an ammunition belt firing continuously at the house's bulletproof windows. Another drone attacked the side of the house. Jiang Min tried to call the police, but his phone had no signal. Jian led Jiang Min to the back of the house to escape, but they were ambushed by another drone, which left multiple dents in the bulletproof back door. Another drone landed and attached sticky bombs to the bulletproof windows. Then, the bombs exploded. Jian and Jiang Min retreated inside to avoid the gunfire from the sophisticated drone. The drone slowly flew into the house and continuously fired at the closet where Jiang Min was hiding. It then launched a small bomb to breach the closet door. Jian used a slingshot to hit the drone, causing it to spin and crash to the ground. Jian used a chair to disable the killer drone. Jian tried to reassure a shaken Jiang Min. They then used the closet door as a makeshift shield and ventured outside. Another drone approached. Jian tried her slingshot again, but this time it was ineffective. They were then subjected to another barrage of bullets from the drone. Outside, Min Hai, seeing the multiple drones, retrieved her own advanced weaponry. Inside, noticing the drone had stopped attacking, Jian peeked out and saw a bomb stuck to their makeshift shield. It quickly detonated, sending both of them flying. Just as the drone prepared to finish them off, Min Hai, positioned outside, fired a single burst from an assault rifle, bringing down two drones simultaneously. Jiang Min, trying to crawl to safety, was incapacitated by Min Hai and collapsed. Min Hai scanned his wrist to check his code, but her device malfunctioned. She then injected him in the neck. Jian emerged with her slingshot and asked, "Are you the one who wants to kill me?" She then shot a rubber projectile that grazed Min Hai's cheek. Min Hai quickly subdued her and scanned her wrist, revealing a blue code. As the two prepared for hand-to-hand combat, another bullet flew into the house. Min Hai kicked Jian out of the way, saving her from the incoming shot. The sniper was the long-haired man, positioned in a vehicle and being meticulously cared for by an associate to ensure he remained focused and accurate. Inside the house, Min Hai finally explained to Jian, "I'm here to protect you. Did you find it strange that your uncle told you to call Jin Man's name to the sky 3 times whenever you were in danger? In the past 10 years, you've only done that 3 times. Once when you were bullied in middle school, once when you were harassed in university, and this year when the convenience store owner cheated you out of your wages. You may not know this, but you have a code implanted in your arm, and you and your uncle are the only 2 blue codes. Everyone with a code is obligated to protect you both. The girl who bullied you transferred schools, the pervert at university dropped out, and the convenience store owner had an accident. I'm here to protect you from those drones." Outside, a team of mercenaries mobilized, preparing to assault the house. The long-haired man, Li Xiongzhou, seeing Jian briefly emerge, fired another shot. Min Hai threw a smoke grenade to obscure his vision. From outside, he ordered his men, "Clear the smoke." A drone descended and began to vacuum the smoke from the house. Min Hai promptly shot it down. Realizing Min Hai was inside helping Jian, Xiongzhou shot her in the arm, causing her to drop her weapon. Jiang Min then regained consciousness. Min Hai used a cloth to bandage her own wound. Outside, the mercenaries began rappelling from the bridge, preparing for a full-scale assault on the house. Jian tried to crawl towards the dropped rifle, but a bullet sent it skittering under a chair. Trembling, she remembered Jin Man's advice: exploit the blind spots of professional snipers. She grabbed a shard of broken glass and tied it to a broom handle. She carefully extended the glass outside, and it was instantly shattered. She tried again with another shard, raising it slightly higher, with the same result. On the 3rd attempt, the long-haired man's shot hit the ceiling. Jian realized the shots were coming from a high angle diagonally, meaning the blind spot would be directly above. She climbed onto the refrigerator. The sniper sensed something amiss and ordered his driver to move forward slightly. Jian leaped down onto the sofa, a bullet grazing her back, but she landed safely. She scrambled for the weapon under the chair. Flipping it over, she found a submachine gun hidden underneath. Min Hai asked, "Have you ever used an assault rifle before?" Then, from a distance, she guided Jian on how to load and aim the weapon. Jian fired a single shot, piercing the windshield of Li Xiongzhou's vehicle. Min Hai rushed over and pulled Jian up. A mercenary was about to finish off Jiang Min, but Min Hai intervened, giving the mercenaries pause, impressed by her skill. She urged them to hide in the secret basement. Beneath the floor of her uncle's office was a door that led to the help headquarters. "I promised your uncle I would protect you," she said. Min Hai held off the advancing mercenaries, providing cover for the two to escape. Jai-en and Jiang Min, each using a piece of the closet door as a shield, made their way to the office. Li Xiangzhou alerted his men to their movement. He fired a shot, staggering them. As he prepared to fire again, he found himself in Min Hai's sights, but her shot hit the driver instead. Jai-en and Jiang Min safely reached Jin Man's office. The mercenaries stormed the room. Min Hai rushed in, urging Jai-en to go down to the basement and close the door behind her, leaving Min Hai to fight alone. Jai-en opened a keypad and tried her uncle's birthday, but it didn't work. In the heat of the moment, she remembered Jin Man telling her to memorize her student ID number, and she entered it. The platform descended, revealing a hidden armory stocked with various weapons. Suddenly, a masked figure appeared, pointing a gun at them and announced, "I'm the brother from upstairs." The mercenaries began to pour into Jin Man's office. Min Hai was waiting for them. As they searched the room, the lights suddenly went out. Min Hai took down the first mercenary. Using night vision goggles, she lined up another shot, but was met with a hail of return fire. She quickly swung down to safety. Outside, Li Xiangzhou, unable to contact the mercenary captain, picked up the bag of snacks his recently deceased underling had been eating. "Rest in peace, dumbass," he muttered, nonchalantly munching on the snacks while awaiting good news from the mercenaries inside. Meanwhile, Min Hai, the assassin, continued her whirlwind assault, taking down several more mercenaries. Growing tired of her guns, she switched to knives, efficiently dispatching the remaining men. Only Captain Kim remained. Min Hai appeared suddenly, attacking with her blinding speed, dodging the captain's bullets. He landed a solid blow, sending her reeling. She recovered quickly, pinning him down, but he bit her hand fiercely, reversing their positions. He raised his knife for the killing blow, but Min Hai blocked it just in time. Suddenly, she slashed him with her poison-laced blade. After a brief struggle, he collapsed, and Min Hai gently closed his eyes. Down in the secret chamber, the masked figure introduced himself to Jai-en. "The name's Ryder," he said, tossing her a pair of handcuffs. "Cuff Jiang Min." Jai-en picked them up, turned, and kicked Jiang Min in the leg before swiftly subduing and choking Ryder into unconsciousness. They then discovered monitors displaying feeds from cameras hidden throughout Jai-en's life school, her part-time job, even her bathroom. Jai-en kicked Ryder, pointed her gun at him, and demanded, "How long have you been watching me? Was it my uncle who put you up to this?" "Hey, Jai-en," Ryder gasped, "prioritize getting ammo to Min Hai upstairs. More guys are on their way. The boss said this isn't over. We need to get out there with more ammo and meds for Min Hai." While exploring the chamber, Jiang Min flipped a light switch. The sudden brightness caused Ryder to recoil in agony. "The light ... it hurts me if I'm exposed too long. Please, turn it off," he pleaded. Jai-en pressed him. "How long have you been watching me?" They draped raincoats over Ryder to shield him from the light. He began to tell his story, starting from when he was brought to live there. Jiang Min, however, gagged him with a cloth, preventing him from playing the victim and gaining Jai-en's sympathy. Jiang Min then investigated the sophisticated server system in the chamber. Suddenly, Ryder pointed at him, urging Jai-en not to trust him. Then he bolted. Jiang Min grabbed a gun, and he and Jai-en gave chase. Ryder, armed with a syringe, tried to ambush Jai-en from behind, but she kicked him hard. Continuing the pursuit, Jai-en fell into a pit. Ryder slammed a button, closing the hatch above her. He then flipped a switch, plunging the entire chamber into darkness. Donning night vision goggles, he struck Jiang Min hard across the back with a staff, then chained him by the neck with a dog chain at the bottom of the pit. Jai-en watched helplessly through another surveillance system. At the bottom of the pit, Ryder gagged Jiang Min and then addressed Jai-en through the monitors. "Open the second drawer," he instructed. Inside, Jai-en found handover documents. Ryder began reciting the terms. If the owner of MHP, Jiang Jin Man, died or became incapacitated, his niece, Jiang Jai-en, would inherit the entire the Help Center. This meant assuming responsibility for all operations, including accounting and personnel management. After outlining the 10 rules of succession, Ryder asked, "Do you agree to take over them all? Write down your decision." Jian wrote agree and then asked, "Are you sure you'll obey me?" After Ryder nodded, she demanded, "Let me out." He pressed a button, opening the pit hatch for her to climb out. "Your uncle anticipated his death and the attack on the center," Ryder explained. "He planned for everything." Jian snatched the gun from Ryder's pocket. "Release Jiang Min," she ordered. "I can't," Ryder replied. "He's the one who killed your uncle." He then unchained Jiang Min, who promptly punched him in the face. Jian pointed her gun at Jiang Min. "Stop," she commanded. "Do you really believe him?" Jiang Min asked. Ryder quickly rechained him. "Trust me," Jiang Min pleaded. "Don't you remember we almost died back then? I even helped at your uncle's funeral. Why would I kill him? This guy has been living down here for years, spying on you, even when you shower." "No," Ryder interjected. "Your uncle definitely didn't commit suicide. This guy came to him." He continued, "Your uncle is dead. Open the video file named Z404 and you'll see everything." Jian approached the computer and located the file. "Don't click it," Jiang Min warned. "If you do, all the doors here will be deactivated, and the assassins outside can get in." "Hurry up and click it," Ryder urged. "Remember when you were locked in the storage room at school?" Jiang Min reminded her. "I was the one who ran to tell your uncle." Touched by the memory, Jian hesitated. Looking at the monitors, she saw Min Hai fighting off the mercenaries alone outside. "Go upstairs and give that woman a gun and some medicine," she ordered Ryder. Ryder slung a backpack over his shoulder, leaving his night vision goggles for Jai and as a gift. "Whatever happens," he cautioned, "don't leave them all." He pulled on a beanie and headed upstairs. As Ryder searched for Min Hai, she pointed her gun at him. "It's me," he said, removing his mask. Min Hai recognized the boy she had met years ago, now much older. As Jian was helped to her feet, Jiang Min embraced her tightly. "Thank you for choosing me," he murmured. "You know, I was the one who locked you in the school storage room when we were kids." Suddenly, he jabbed a syringe into her neck. Jian reeled, her vision blurring. Jiang Min sat down at the computer to control the MER, the help center. Through the blurry haze and the night vision goggles, Jian saw him wearing a pen-shaped camera. "Who are you?" she whispered. Jiang Min made a call. "I've infiltrated the MHP center. Jian is secured. I'll hand over the MER, the help mall to you within 3 days. See how effective I am?" He paused. "What? You want me to kill Jin Man?" He then pointed the gun at Jian. "Were you the one who orchestrated locking me in the school storage room?" she asked weakly. "Back then," Jiang Min explained, "I was curious if you were really mute or just pretending. I convinced those guys to lock you up as a test. To see if you could speak in a crisis. You should be grateful. I helped you overcome your muteness. Want to know what happened next?" "In a place called Babylon, after I was discharged from the military, I told a classmate from my computer engineering program about the weapons trading website I hacked. He didn't believe me and was afraid of going to jail for being involved with an illegal site. But that site ... it fascinated me." Later, as they arrived at their apartment building, a man with a shaved head and hostile eyes waited in ambush. Inside their apartment, another man with the exact same face appeared. "Jiang Min," the leader demanded, "did you hack MER, the help?" Both were then brutally beaten by the shaved-headed man. Commander Li Yonghan of the Babylon organization gave them a timed hacking test. While the classmate panicked, Jiang Min remained calm and focused. He successfully found the true address of the Babylon website before time ran out. The classmate was coldly executed by the shaved-headed man. Jiang Min, unfazed, asked Commander Li, "You'll use me to clean this up, right?" The commander produced photos of Jin Man and Jian, then gave Jiang Min an assignment. Immediately afterward, Jiang Min, holding a help-wanted flyer, approached Uncle Jin Man. "I went to elementary school with Jian," he introduced himself. Jin Man hired him to work at his agricultural plumbing supply store. Jiang Min, however, was deceptively weak and overly polite. He secretly placed a spy pen on Jin Man's desk, using it to record every corner of the store. Finding nothing suspicious, he received a message from his boss, demanding he locate the MER, the help center, within a day. Feigning a stomachache, he excused himself to the restroom. With the memory card in hand, he ventured out. trying to find where MHP's server equipment was stored. Suddenly, Jin Man's voice boomed out. Startled, Jiang Min looked around and spotted a speaker on the ceiling. Jin Man entered. "I installed this to talk to Jai An from the warehouse when she lived here," he explained. Jin Man then asked Jiang Min to fix his computer. Jiang Min, delighted, began working on it. "Jai An and I were very close," he remarked. Jin Man, suspicious, replied, "She was quite rude and didn't have any friends." Noticing Jiang Min's hesitant response, Jin Man left him to work, but a hidden camera observed his every move. Jiang Min inserted the memory card, copying all the data. In the basement, Ryder watched Jiang Min's actions on the monitors. Back at his apartment, Jiang Min received a message, "Have you infiltrated MHP yet?" Suddenly, he received a notification of a successful connection. At that moment, Jin Man was logging into his the help system. Jiang Min now had access to the vast MHP network, much to his delight. Sensing someone entering, he frantically typed on the keyboard, installing something. The shaved-headed man entered, gun drawn, ready to execute him. "If you kill me," Jiang Min warned, "it'll all be for nothing. I've installed something." The man connected him to Commander Lee. "If I die," Jiang Min explained, "MHP will reset because of what I've installed. Only I can access it." But the commander still ordered his execution. Desperately, Jiang Min pleaded, "You've seen how capable I am. I'm intelligent and a skilled hacker. I have a brilliant plan for you to take down Jin Man and get MHP." Jiang Min opened folders 0404 and played the video. It showed his boss, Jin Man, hanging him from the ceiling. Jin Man then walked into the bathroom, but the camera cut off at that moment. He showed Jai and the memory card. "This is how I sent your uncle off to meet his maker," he said. He plugged the card into a computer for Jai An to watch. In the video, Jin Man listened to what sounded like Jai An's desperate pleas for help over the phone. "If you kill me, Babylon will eliminate Jai An," Jiang Min had said in the video. "Let me go while I'm still being nice." Jin Man, distraught by his niece's apparent cries, responded to Jiang Min, "I'll do what you say. Release Jai An as promised." He then made a final call to his friend, Passin, before heading towards the bathroom. Suddenly, he turned back to Jiang Min. "Tell Babylon to keep their word." He then cut Jiang Min down and entered the bathroom, closing the door behind him. Jiang Min, freed from his restraints, slowly walked to the bathroom. Opening the door, he found Jin Man lying motionless in the bathtub. Jai An sobbed at the sight of her uncle's lifeless body, while Jiang Min let out a triumphant laugh. "I never made those cries for help," Jai An said. "He used deepfake technology to synthesize your voice," Jiang Min admitted. "The owner of the convenience store where you work helped me record your voice." He started to pace in front of Jai An. "I thought your uncle was smarter. In the end, he fell for such a low-level trick and ended his own life. I didn't expect it to be this easy. I guess I'm just too smart, which is why Babylon chose me." After a moment of shock, Jai An laughed. "You're just a pawn pretending to be intelligent. Do you think you'll get out of here alive? Now that my uncle is dead, I'm the only one left with the blue code. Plenty of people will protect me. And you're Babylon. They won't care if you live or die. Did those killer drones avoid you earlier? They're just using you. Now, you should be negotiating with me, the only one with the blue code." Jiang Min, losing his composure, stood up and yelled at Jai An, trying to intimidate her. When her defiance continued, he grabbed her hair and pointed a gun at her head. Jai An kicked him in the leg, using her legs to grapple him and slam him to the ground, knocking out one of his teeth. She then kicked him again and shoved a chair at him, using the opportunity to run downstairs, attempting to retrieve a gun from a locked cabinet. Jiang Min fired several shots, forcing her to take cover. He continued his pursuit. Jai An grabbed a rope and a bottle of chemicals, searching for a way to fight back. As he searched for her, Jiang Min taunted, "Just give up. Your uncle wasn't such a great guy anyway. He probably killed a lot of people. The world we live in doesn't distinguish between good and bad, only strong and weak. Someone like Jin Man died because of my trap, meaning I'm even stronger than your uncle." Suddenly, he tripped and got tangled in the rope, finding himself hanging upside down. Just as he had hung Jin Man, Jai An struck him in the head. Jiang Min switched to pleading and begging, but Jai An continued to kick him like a punching bag. Upstairs, Min Hai bandaged her own wounds. Ryder said to her, "Jai-an has to handle this herself. The boss said she has to find a way to survive. Jai-an isn't weak." Ryder then smashed a hole in a wall with a hammer, revealing a cache of weapons hidden inside. Outside, a state-of-the-art robot was deployed, poised to attack the house. With a single, silent step, it landed softly from above and then darted towards the house with the speed of a cheetah. A separate team of mercenaries was also mobilized to breach the house. Ryder quickly slammed shut all the rolling shutters. However, the robotic dog had already managed to slip inside. Min Hai attacked the robot with her gun, but it moved with incredible agility. The mercenaries outside began their assault. Ryder urged Min Hai to retreat inside and close the shutters again. The robot attempted to fly in, but Min Hai fired a shot, sending it reeling backward. Despite this, the robot managed to block the closing shutter just enough for the mercenaries to squeeze through. Once they were inside, the shutter slammed down. Down in the secret chamber, Jai-an began reading Mer the Help's personnel transfer files. Her uncle, Jeong Jin Man, had given her two choices. 1. If you want to escape this, use Mer the Help's back exit. At the end of the road, you'll have a new identity, some money to start over, and the phone number of someone who will help you begin your new life. 2. If you want to join those fighting to protect you, turn the page and follow the instructions. I'm sorry you're in this situation. Jai-an stood before the escape route, deeply conflicted. Upstairs, the robot began drilling a small hole in the wall. The mercenaries donned gas masks, as did Min Hai and Ryder, preparing for whatever came next. The robot inserted a nozzle to pump gas into the house. Suddenly, it was yanked upward along with a section of wall it had breached and sent plummeting to the ground. From inside, a bomb was thrown out. Min Hai flew out, using two grappling hooks to snag a mercenary, then spun around with her gun, taking down several others. Min Hai took cover behind the sofa to avoid the hail of bullets from the remaining mercenaries. She reloaded her gun and then charged back into the fray. She launched herself at another mercenary, taking him down, and continued to neutralize several more. Ryder and Jai-an, behind bulletproof glass, called for Min Hai to retreat. Ryder provided covering fire as she pulled back. The mercenary leader stood up to counterattack, but Jai-an pulled out two grenades. Min Hai pulled the pins, and Jai-an hurled the grenades towards the mercenaries. The explosions rocked the house, causing the long-haired Lee Seong-jo outside to look on in bewilderment. The robot control team lost their signal. Inside, the three made their way through a tunnel into a bathroom to bandage Min Hai's wounds. Suddenly, the mercenary leader kicked down the door and shot Min Hai. He grabbed Jai-an by the hair and dragged her out. Ryder rushed to intervene but was kicked aside. Jai-an fought back but was no match for his strength and was thrown to the ground. Looking in a mirror, the mercenary leader saw his almost completely mangled face. He reported to Lee Seong-jo that he had captured all three, but he was the only one of his team left alive. Lee Seong-jo ordered him to bring Jai-an back alive. However, the brute intended to leave her with some scars. He raised his knife to slash Jai-an's face, but was suddenly stabbed from behind. It was Uncle Passon, Jeong Jin Man's friend and Jai-an's martial arts teacher. Jai-an embraced her teacher as Passon announced, "Bale is coming, the one who killed your parents." Inside the Babylon base's control room, Bale ordered the twin brothers to deploy immediately. The deep-seated animosity between Jeong Jin Man and Bale stemmed from an incident 14 years prior. Back then, Jin Man was the captain of a professional mercenary unit. His team was tasked with escorting a businessman safely back to South Korea from overseas. At the same time, Lee Seong-jo and Bale were engaged in a firefight nearby. Bale was known for his volatile personality and bloodlust. A young mercenary, Seong Hwan, entered a building searching for Bale, only to discover numerous civilian casualties. He then witnessed Bale brutally murder a couple. At that moment, Lee Seong-jo also entered the building. When Seong Hwan reported, "I saw Bale kill civilians," Lee Seong-jo immediately eliminated him to silence the witness. When Captain Jin Man arrived, Lee Seong-jo lied. This kid rushed out to save civilians and was shot down by the insurgents. Jin Man closed the young mercenary's eyes. From behind, a young boy appeared, holding a gun. Bale coldly shot him. He then turned to Jin Man and said, There can't be any witnesses. Jin Man reported to Commander Li Yonghan that the bullet lodged in Xiang Huan's body wasn't from the insurgents. But the commander dismissed Jin Man's suspicions about Bale, repeatedly praising him as a natural-born precision instrument. He said, "I believe the only one who can control Bale is you, so please give favorable testimony for him in court." Feeling deeply conflicted, Jin Man agreed, but with one condition. From now on, don't assign Bale to any missions I command. Later, Bale faced trial in the local jurisdiction. When the female lawyer questioned Li Xiongzhou about the mercenaries killing civilians in the administrative building, he blamed everything on the insurgents. The lawyer then called Captain Jiang Jin Man to the stand as a witness. When the lawyer asked, "Did you witness the defendant, Bale, killing civilians?" Jin Man looked at Bale. He decided to follow Commander Li Yonghan's orders and answered, "I did not see." Due to lack of evidence, the local court acquitted Bale. Li Xiongzhou was overjoyed for his comrade, while Bale displayed an air of arrogance. Some time later, back in South Korea, Commander Li Yonghan still decided to assign Bale to the next mission alongside Jin Man. This is a major drug trafficker moving product from Laos to China. If you fail this mission, the company will suffer a huge loss. Upper management has demanded Bale's participation, and this time, there definitely won't be any civilians. This is the last time. After this mission, I'll remove Bale from your operations. The commander handed Jin Man a picture of a man named Tao and ordered him to capture him before Bale could kill him. Jin Man stepped outside and confronted Bale directly. "This time, you're not going to freelance like last time, understand? I will capture Tao. If we encounter any locals, we'll hand them over to the police. Is that clear?" Bale showed resistance but reluctantly nodded in agreement. The mercenary crew arrived in Laos and entered the building where Tao was hiding. The twin brothers found two unarmed men and asked Bale to hand them over to the police, as Captain Jin Man had instructed. But Bale tossed them a knife, inviting them to fight. He then coldly executed the first man. The remaining man was eliminated by one of the twins. Meanwhile, Jin Man and Passin were pursuing Tao. As he crawled into a room, Passin apprehended him, finding him with a pile of cash on the bed. Bale's mercenaries, upon receiving news of Tao's capture, were elated. Li Xiongzhou, searching the building, discovered a suspicious room. Shining his light inside, he found 4 women. Bale looked in, and one woman pleaded for her life. Bale told them to stay put, then tossed a grenade into the room. Hearing the explosion, Jin Man and Passin rushed to the scene. Jin Man looked inside and saw the 4 dead women. Li Xiongzhou explained, "They were already dead when I found them." Jin Man turned to Bale and asked, "Did you do this?" Both sides then raised their weapons, aiming at each other. Bale challenged Jin Man. "Pull the trigger," Li Xiongzhou intervened, urging everyone to lower their weapons. Captain Jin Man complied and ordered, "Rig this place and let's go back to base." Numerous timed explosives were then planted throughout the building. Jin Man entered the room where Tao had been captured and noticed someone hiding in the closet. A woman suddenly burst out and attacked him. It was Min Hai. Jin Man covered her with his jacket and decided to save her. As everyone prepared to return to base, Jin Man told Passin and Jun Chiol, "You two go ahead, I'll stay behind." Jin Man re-entered the building, taking Min Hai by the hand and leading her out before the bombs detonated. Suddenly, Bale appeared, blocking their escape. Jin Man fired a shot and continued to flee with Min Hai. Bale jumped down again, shooting Jin Man. Jin Man got up and urged Min Hai, "Run, save yourself." Bale finally addressed Jin Man. "I became a mercenary because I like killing. I can make money killing as many people as I want. Don't force your civilian protection rules on me. We're paid to kill, so drop the righteous act. It makes me sick." The two then engaged in a knife fight. After a struggle, Bale kicked Jin Man to the ground. As he raised his knife for the killing blow, he was shot in the eye. Min Hai had fired the shot. Jin Man then stabbed Bale repeatedly. Bale gasped, "If you don't kill me now, I'll kill your family, your friends, everyone you know. And then I'll kill you." Jin Man picked up his gun and pulled the trigger, but it was empty. The bombs then detonated, but Jin Man and Min Hai managed to escape the blast. Back home, Jin Man reported to the investigators, Bale and I fought with the others in the building. When the bomb went off, I was near the door and luckily survived. I didn't have time to search for his body. Later, as Jin Man sat at the bus terminal, he noticed someone watching him. When his friend Honda arrived to pick him up, Jin Man signaled for him to stay back. However, Honda managed to toss him his car keys. Jin Man called his older brother but was scolded for disappearing for 8 years. Afterward, he returned home to reunite with his family, including his niece Jia-en. Meanwhile, Lee Seong-jo, while target practicing at a cliff, noticed someone approaching. It was Bale, back from the dead with one eye now blind. Jin Man asked his friends to pack a shipment to send from Laos to South Korea. Honda was startled when he received the package and found a girl inside. Min Hai used her phone to communicate with Honda, who is deaf. Jin Man had asked Honda to let her stay for a while. Jin Man's family gathered for a group photo to celebrate the reunion. Shortly after, his mother was hospitalized due to a worsening illness. Before passing away, she urged Jin Man to care for his niece Jia-en and support his siblings. She said, "I've lived a life with no regrets. I'm so glad you came back so I could see you one last time." That evening, a delivery driver dropped off a package at Honda's hardware store. Honda brought it inside and opened his secret room. As he opened the package, he saw someone lurking outside the store via a security camera. He grabbed a gun and went outside. Min Hai, fascinated by gun parts on a table, watched as Honda went out. He discovered the intruder was his friend, Jeong Jin Man. They embraced joyfully. Seeing Jin Man, Min Hai ran to hug him tightly, exclaiming, "I missed you so much." Honda was surprised to find 2 assembled guns on the table. As they talked, Honda assured Jin Man that Bale was definitely dead, as no one could survive that explosion. He suggested they start an online shopping mall together, as his younger brother was a computer genius. At the Babylon organization's base, Lee Seong-jo was outlining a plan to eliminate Jin Man and his entire family. Jun Cheol objected, arguing that Jin Man's family was innocent. Lee Seong-jo threatened Jun Cheol's children, enraging him. Later, Bale snuck into Jin Man's mother's hospital room and suffocated her until the heart monitor flatlined. The medical team rushed in, but it was too late. At the funeral, Jin Man's older brother refused an autopsy. Jia-en, repeatedly dropping things, was driven home by Jin Man. As Jin Man left the hospital, Lee Seong-jo's car arrived. He called a tech team in another car to erase his image from the security cameras. He then entered the funeral, introducing himself as an old friend of Jin Man. He asked Jin Man's brother and sister-in-law to help carry a wreath and led them to the rooftop. At that moment, Bale and his crew were waiting on the rooftop. While driving, Jin Man texted his friend Honda, asking him to check the hospital's security cameras. Jin Man's sister-in-law was on the ground, begging them to spare her husband's life. Lee Seong-jo told her, "I'll stage it so it looks like your husband found out you were having an affair and attacked you. Then, he'll take his own life." Bale stomped on Jin Man's brother, while Lee Seong-jo also attacked the sister-in-law. The thug with the shaved head placed a knife in the brother's hand and threw him off the roof. At home, Jin Man received a call from his underling, Jun Cheol, informing him that Bale was still alive and on his way to their mother's funeral with Lee Seong-jo. Jin Man immediately texted Honda, asking him to protect his niece, Jia-en. Honda immediately left his house, but his younger brother, Ryder, was upset because Honda had promised to stay home and have barbecue with him that night. Honda promised to be back before dinner and reluctantly left. Jin Man also promised Jai and that he would return soon. Meanwhile, Honda sped to Jai-en's house on his motorcycle. When he arrived, he saw a man trying to break into the house. Honda immediately intervened, pulling the man outside and putting a metal bracelet on his wrist. After a brief fight, Honda subdued the intruder. Honda went inside and gave Jai-en the answers to her cat puzzle. At that moment, Lee Seong-jo and his men were waiting outside. Honda told Jai-en to go to her room. One of the thugs entered the house with a gun, but Honda ambushed and took him down. Hearing the gunshot, Lee Seong-jo entered the house. Honda was shot but fought back. Despite losing a tooth in the fight, Lee Seong-jo overpowered and knocked Honda unconscious. Jai-en watched through a crack in the door as the man who came to save her was being beaten. Jin Man sped to the hospital and tried to text Honda, but was suddenly blocked in a tunnel by another car. A woman ran up to Jin Man asking to borrow his phone. From behind, a truck slammed into Jin Man's car. Jun Cheol and a group of mercenaries emerged from the truck and opened fire on Jin Man's bulletproof car. The woman whose car had broken down was also part of their group. Suddenly, the back door of Jin Man's car opened. From inside, he emerged with an assault rifle and attacked the mercenaries. He ambushed Jun Cheol, the leader, stabbing him in the hand. 3 assassins attacked with guns, but Jin Man used Jun Cheol as a shield. He then managed to escape. Back at the house, Lee Seong-jo spotted Jai and playing on a swing outside. She let go, landed on a sofa, and ran, but was hit by a car. They didn't pursue her further. 2 men broke into Honda's electronics store looking for Min Hai. She watched them on the security cameras and hid. When they entered Honda's secret room, one of them was doused with chemicals. Min Hai then shot and killed both men. She put on a backpack, pressed a button to detonate explosives, and incinerated the building. Passon, the uncle, returned home to find his door broken. Armed with a weapon for self-defense, he was surprised to find Jin Man lying there with a stomach wound. Passon removed the bullet and said, "I don't want anything to do with Babylon anymore. When you wake up, leave." Jin Man asked Passon for a gun. "If you help me, I'll leave immediately." Passon expressed his disappointment that Jin Man tried to kill Bale and didn't follow Babylon's instructions. However, he gave Jin Man a gun with 13 bullets. Afterward, Jin Man left. His accomplices, monitoring the hospital cameras from outside, informed the long-haired man of the opportune moment to act. Jeong Jai sensed someone approaching. As the long-haired man broke into the hospital room, Jai slipped out. Jin Man neutralized the 2 accomplices waiting in the car, then spotted the long-haired man entering the morgue to search for his niece. Jin Man grabbed one of the men as a shield before engaging the long-haired man in a fight. After a struggle, Jin Man overpowered him. He opened the compartment and carried his niece away. At that moment, Bale arrived at the hospital and saw Jin Man carrying his niece. He drew his gun, preparing to eliminate both of them. Suddenly, a group of people emerged from the funeral home, and Jin Man disappeared. Commander Li Yang-han of Babylon arrived home to find his grandson waiting to wish him a happy birthday. His son informed him that they had a guest. The commander entered and found Jin Man playing with his grandson. He maintained a cheerful facade in front of his family. Jin Man placed a gun on the table and addressed the commander. "There are 5 bullets left in the magazine, enough for your grandson, your son, your wife, your daughter-in-law, and 1 left for you. I've been here for an hour, but I didn't do it. My mother, brother, sister-in-law, even my friend, they all lost their lives. Is that punishment enough for what I've done?" The commander immediately called Bale and said, "Jin Man said he'll stop. Can you stop too?" Bale responded with a burst of laughter. Jin Man told Passon, "Babylon can stop, but Bale won't. I need a long-term plan." Jin Man led Passon to a desolate area and together they mapped out a plan to build an underground shop. Jin Man sought out Honda's younger brother, Ryder, a computer genius, and urged him to join his cause. While walking down an alley, Min Hai was followed by a stranger. She drew her gun to defend herself, but Passon quickly disarmed her, and they began negotiations. Later, Jin Man brought Jai into the same house to stay, and Ryder diligently helped Jin Man build the shopping center. Passon trained and mentored Min Hai, but Jin Man remained haunted by the fear of Bale's revenge. Back in the present, Passon carried Min Hai to a bed and proceeded to remove the bullet lodged in her body. Ryder, exploring a wall, detected the smell of gunpowder in the crevices. He realized that Jin Man had secretly set a trap there. Jeong Min, hanging suspended beneath the secret chamber, began to regain consciousness. He struggled, eventually cutting the ropes and falling to the ground. He tried to enter the access code to go up, but not knowing it, he decided to sit at the computer to hack into MER, the help's management system. Min Hai woke up to Jai saying, "Don't die. And do you like that guy?" Min Hai injected herself with a painkiller and informed Jai, "Lee Seong-jo will be here soon." Passon announced the need to go down to the shop to hide, but Ryder rushed in to stop him. "I'm the one who dug that shop. It's the safest place right now," but Ryder explained, "The boss has booby-trapped the whole place." Going down there now will blow us all up. Even you don't know about this trap, Passon. For the past 14 years, the boss and I have taken turns. There's always someone watching the shop. If no one is there, the system defaults to danger. All the machinery shuts down automatically within 24 hours. We only have 20 minutes and 30 seconds left. But someone has hacked into the shop's server. Afterward, Ryder investigated and informed Jai-En. It was Jiang Min who hacked into the shopping center's server. I told you not to trust him. Suddenly, the robotic dog jolted awake and began spinning in circles due to a short circuit. It then emitted powerful ultrasonic waves, deafening all three of them. Passon fired his assault rifle, but the robot remained unaffected. Ryder collapsed from the intense pain. Passon urged Jai-En to escape through the tunnel in the restroom. Jai-En quickly scooped up Ryder and dragged him inside. Min Hai was about to attack the robot with her gun when a car screeched to a halt. The twin brothers stepped out. Lee Seong-jo followed, but the car door jammed behind him. One of the twins shot Min Hai, only to be immediately attacked by Passon. Passon addressed his former comrades, "Let's go to hell together today." The twins dropped their guns and pulled out knives, engaging Passon in hand-to-hand combat. The three of them clashed fiercely. Lee Seong-jo entered the room, searching for Jai-En. "When you were little, you escaped me through a window," he taunted. "But there's no window to jump out of today." Jai-En rushed out, only to be tackled by Lee Seong-jo. Ryder attacked from behind to rescue her, but was quickly subdued. Ryder then clung to Lee Seong-jo, giving Jai-En a chance to escape. Jai-En ran towards the car and saw her mentor, Passon, locked in a desperate struggle with the twins. At that moment, Lee Seong-jo pulled out his gun and fired repeatedly at Ryder. One of the twins lunged at Jai-En, but Min Hai intercepted him. Passon used a shard of broken glass to finish off one of the twins, yelling at Jai-En to run. The surviving twin, grief-stricken by his brother's death, unleashed a barrage of gunfire at Passon. Jai-En fled into her uncle's office, pursued by Lee Seong-jo. She grabbed a discarded gun from a dead mercenary for protection. Lee Seong-jo entered the office and saw the bodies of the mercenaries who had infiltrated earlier strewn across the floor. He snatched the ring from Captain Kim's hand and put it in his mouth to check its authenticity. Suddenly, the lights flickered on. Jai-En emerged and confronted Lee Seong-jo. "Did you kill my parents?" Hearing a noise behind her, she turned. Lee Seong-jo seized the opportunity and fled. Jiang Min emerged from the hidden basement. Spotting a machine gun on the floor, he picked it up and fired wildly into the ceiling, ranting, "Babylon is a damned organization. I killed Jeongjin Man, and now you're trying to take credit for it?" Lee Seong-jo, overhearing this, felt somewhat offended. Jiang Min continued firing until the gun ran out of ammunition. Lee Seong-jo calmly walked out and remarked, "Fools waste ammunition," before delivering a fatal blow with a hammer. Jai-En climbed down into the mall's basement. Lee Seong-jo, looking down, realized that the man he just killed was on his side. "Oh well, what's done is done," he muttered, descending into the basement after Jai-En. Jai-En tried to unlock the armory, but realized Lee Seong-jo was closing in. Lee Seong-jo surveyed the mall Jin Man had built and mused. He must have made a lot of money. No wonder Babylon wanted to take over this place. Spotting Jai-En above him, he fired several shots, which she narrowly avoided. Lee Seong-jo donned laser goggles and began planting laser bombs throughout the room. As he worked, he confessed, "I'm sorry I eliminated your parents, but your uncle killed a lot of people too. We were on the same team, but he ruined our comrades. If you have any resentment, blame your uncle. He's dead, yet he's still causing his niece, who should be enjoying her youth and love, so much suffering." While moving, Jai-En crossed a laser tripwire, triggering an explosion that sent her flying. Lee Seong-jo seized the opportunity to attack her. Jai-En fought back, but her gun ran out of ammunition. However, she spotted another firearm lying on the ground. Meanwhile, the other twin followed a secret passage in the restroom, leading him to a wall that resembled a hidden door. He kicked it hard, causing a massive explosion. Jai-En bandaged her wounds, sobbing as she remembered the fresh start her uncle had offered her. Ryder, protected by his body armor, regained consciousness. Down in the secret chamber, as Lee Seong-jo searched for Jai-En, the forklift's headlights suddenly flashed on. Jai-En drove the forklift directly at him, but Lee Seong-jo managed to dodge. Unfortunately for him, he stumbled onto the laser tripwire he had set earlier. The explosion propelled him into a pile of chemicals Jai and had strategically placed. Lee Seong-jo taunted Jai and challenging her courage. She fired at the chemicals on the floor, igniting a fire that engulfed him. However, the store's sprinkler system activated, extinguishing the flames. As Lee Seong-jo lunged at her, Jai shot him in the forehead. Passan revived Min-hai. Descending into the mall, Ryder found Jai and slumped on the ground next to Lee Seong-jo's lifeless body. Ryder informed her that Passan and Min-hai were still alive. He then checked the help systems, impressed that Jeong-min had managed to bypass the security measures. Ryder noticed numerous vehicles approaching the building. He suspected they were hitmen who had worked with the previous owner. A large group of thugs armed with weapons piled out of the vehicles and approached the building. They began to gather, preparing to storm the mall and capture everyone inside. Ryder discovered that the Babylon organization had put them all on a hit list with a $1 million bounty per person, explaining the large number of assassins. Ryder asked Jai what to do, acknowledging her as the new owner. She instructed him to open the armory. Then, she grabbed a sledgehammer and slammed it into the ground. Upstairs, Passan reassured Min-hai that reinforcements were on their way, preventing anyone from entering the mall, ensuring Jai's safety. He declared that they would have to hold their own until then. Numerous assassins entered a warehouse filled with agricultural piping. Ryder, wearing a mask and a sign reading, "Please don't shoot," emerged with a loudspeaker. From the secret chamber, Jai's voice boomed through the speaker. "Hello customers, I am the new owner of the Help and the niece of Jong Jin-man. First, I'd like to offer those who came here a gift." Ryder immediately threw down Lee Seong-jo's severed head. Jai confirmed that she had personally dealt with Lee Seong-jo, 6 people in the warehouse, 6 in the living room, and 6 in the garden. A total of 18 people with red codes. If everyone backs down now, nothing will happen. I'll split the $4 million bounty Babylon offered evenly and transfer it to each of you, tax-free. From now on, you can conduct business with me as usual, and your codes will be maintained. I can even offer you better rates than my uncle did. However, if anyone still wants to take my position, they will all die here. I'll count to 3 for you to make your decision. At this, the assassins began to lower their weapons and readily agreed to Jai's enticing offer, retreating en masse, which brought Ryder immense relief. When Uncle Passan entered the room, he found Min-hai's lifeless body. Ryder descended to the basement, his body still trembling from the dangerous encounter. Jai went upstairs and wandered around, surveying the disarray of her home. But when she entered the room, she found neither Master Passan nor Min-hai. Jai stepped outside and burst into tears, then collapsed and screamed from the horrors she had just experienced. Suddenly, a bus arrived. Jai grabbed her gun, ran towards it, and braced herself to fight more assassins. A man with a handlebar mustache stepped off the bus. Jai recognized him as the driver who had transported her uncle's coffin to the cemetery. This man had a yellow code and was there to help clean up the scene. Then, from the bus, numerous people with specialized equipment emerged to clean up all the evidence of the chaos within Jai's headquarters. The man advised Jai to go to the mall, as it was still dangerous outside. An employee ran up to inform her that a car was approaching. Jai stepped out and saw it was the taxi of her Uncle Jin-man's close friend, the taxi driver. Suddenly, from the back seat, her Uncle Jeong Jin-man, alive and well, emerged, supported by a friend. Then, the niece and uncle looked at each other and smiled. Behind Uncle Jeong Jin-man's survival, there are undoubtedly many untold details, and even the character Bale has yet to appear in this final episode. This hints at a possible sequel. The video ends here. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to support me. See you in the next video.